Situation Room. Witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Day of June 2023. Our guest is the acting CEO of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority. Dr. Andrew Mulwa is in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. I think I used to think this is the hot seat. I am now in a hotter seat.
You thought this was hot?
Yes.
Until
I went to KEMSA and realized that hotter seats out there.
But how hot is it? You're actually right now not even dealing with KEMSA issues. You're dealing with what you were doing before as a director of medical services.
To be honest, I am dealing with KEMSA. I am dealing with KEMSA and I'm focused on KEMSA and working on transformation of KEMSA. The fact is, I was the director of medical services, preventive and promotive health in the Ministry of Health. I did what I could at the time. And what's coming is questions around some of the actions that I did when I was there. Are they my preoccupation? No. My preoccupation is how to turn around KEMSA to be the vibrant organization that it's supposed to be the organization that will deliver medicines to the most remote part of the country when required, in the right quantity, in the right at the right time, and in the right quality. That is my focus.
Well done. Your communications person is clapping. He got the brief right. He's executed it very well. Yes. Very well said. We'll have the conversations going forward. Wangari Moikia is our guest host today. Wangari is an economist. She's a lead partner with EGCL Institute. She's worked in all those places, at the National Treasury, with the Bretton Woods institutions, studied in those big institutions called the Ivy League institutions.
And now she's here.
And I'm introducing you to Dr. Mulwa, you know, so that he knows who is asking the questions to him. Siti, please give Daktari the day's proverb.
Yes, I didn't work for the
You didn't study in
No, I did not.
In the Ivy League?
No, I did not. Schools. Yes. I went to a primary school in Kenya. Right. The proverb of the day. Our proverbs of the whole of this week, Daktari, are from the country of Chad. I've been accused of favoring Chad. And I said in my defense, they have some of the most interesting proverbs I've actually ever come across. And let me mention today's proverb and tell me whether you think it's interesting or not. There is no such thing as a small fire or a small woman.
I will need to take my time.
Very advisable. Very advisable.
Let's do this.
I am a man.
Let's break this proverb into two. Let's start with the first half.
There is no small fire.
Yes.
Indeed true. And in our language and around here, they say where there is fire, there is smoke, there is fire. So, when issues are said, issues, you start hearing issues, however small they are, digging deeper may give you what they say, the iceberg. And it would be any small issue that you see could be a pointer to bigger issues. Then again, I will not speak on there is no small woman, because I am a man.
Okay.
That's another proverb.
Crickets. Crickets. Let's start straight into it, Daktari. So you are appointed acting CEO of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority. You tell us what you're doing to transform this KEMSA and what is the problem that you're going to cure. But right now, you are, every single day, you're either appearing before the National Assembly, before Senate. There's an investigation into what led to the dismissal of your predecessor in the office that you're currently occupying. What is the issue?
I think the main issue, as it is the issue of the mass net, or the long-lasting insecticidal nets, which is a program that the country runs every 3 years. The last campaign having been 2021. Then previously, I think 2017 or thereabout, 2014, every 3 years there is a mass campaign distribution, net distribution across 27 counties that are malaria endemic. And it's usually a big program, talking about between 15 and 18 million nets per cycle, because usually targets every household in these regions. It's a program that is aligned to, one, the WHO malaria eradication strategy. Is also a program that is aligned to Kenya's strategy for malaria elimination, and has really helped in terms of reducing the prevalence of malaria in the country, as among other strategies. Of course, I was here, I think, the other day, the last time we were here, we were talking about vaccines, the malaria vaccine being one of them, and many other, among us, the larvicidin and other strategies that are applied in malaria elimination. This year's campaign is supported by 2 partners. The Global Fund is supporting about 10.2 million nets, and the USAID PMI project, Presidential Malaria Initiative, is supporting about 4 million nets. Of course, that leaves us with a deficit of about 4 million nets, which as at the time that I was a ministry, because our target was to do 18.2 million nets. So we were still looking for resources to cover the gap. In terms of this particular Global Fund procurement, the Ministry of Health and the Malaria Program is a sub-recipient of a Global Fund grant, which supports many activities, supporting the counties, capacity building, training on case management, developing tools for policy around malaria. So the grant has that component that supports activities within the program. Then also the grant has a component that supports commodities in terms of anti-malarial drugs, malaria test kits, lab support for malaria. And also now for these periodic activities like MassNet, the grant was supposed to support initially was 12.6 million nets. But because of price and the available resources, could only support 10.2 million nets. Last year in October, we initiated, because we have to, at the end of at every financial year, first we have to develop what we call a work plan. Then from a work plan, you develop procurement plan. And based on the Global Fund budget, I think that was done in the beginning of the financial year. Once we got the approval, we had to initiate procurement as per procurement plan. Because these funds, the principal recipient of these funds, of these grants, I have some flu, I hope it's not COVID.
Hope so.
So, this request has to go through the National Treasury. The National Treasury are the principal recipients of the Global Fund grants. And Kenya has developed specifications for procurement, for mass net, for nets. For anyone who wants to support a net distribution program, you have this policy document that you just go and pick, and you are good to go. And make choice of the nets that you want to distribute.
And this is developed by the ministry?
It's the Ministry of Health. The last version that we have was developed in 2016.
Okay.
And this is what we used in October to write to the Principal Secretary, asking her now to ask Treasury to initiate the procurement of nets.
Okay.
The principal, that was before, during the transition period. So it was before the current
previous
PSs. when that came, I think the PS the PS on the 12th of October forwarded the specifications as per the policy document which I already shared to Treasury to procure. At the time, the request was 12.6 million nets. But after a review of the available resources between Treasury, in consultation with the Ministry and Global Fund, team in Geneva, we settled on 10.2 million nets. I think after that, as a ministry, we have already written to the and I was involved because I was the director responsible for this program. The program head of program came up with the specification, of course forwarded the specifications as per the policy document to me, and I forwarded to the principal secretary, and the principal secretary forwarded, you know that channel, that
all
bureaucracy
the way to KEMSA.
all the way to Treasury, then from Treasury to KEMSA.
Okay.
Doctor, just pause for a second. In this structure that you mentioned, the person in charge of programs writes to you.
Writes
to you to tell you this is what we need.
Yes.
That somebody whose program director in charge of malaria
prevention.
You as director of promotive and preventative, you then
write to the PS.
You scale it up
to the PS. Yes.
What powers do you have as director beyond writing?
Beyond writing, I'm the technical advisor. So I don't just forward any document that comes to me.
Yes.
Every document that passes through my desk, I have to look at it, consult. That's why we have technical advisors within the office. That you consult, that you have discussions, seek clarification on issues that are not clear, and that is basically.
Do you document these processes of discussions with your experts and advisors?
Because one, when I get a written document, because it's now in writing, I act in writing as well. So if I'm not satisfied with the question, I ask the question, either directly in the memo or develop another memo to question in writing, because it's presented in writing, you respond in writing. If I need a discussion, I mark it.
Is that why government documents, you find a piece of paper, there are all sorts of comments on it?
Yes.
Everyone it goes to write their own little comment.
Yes. It's important.
So it's communicated in writing.
It's communicated in writing.
Now we can resume. Okay, letter has gone to PS.
Yes.
PS has forwarded. Yes. Okay.
Treasury do their own consultations with Global Fund and everything. Then they write to their procuring agency.
Okay.
Who's procuring agency?
Their procurement agency is called KEMSA.
Treasury's procuring agency is KEMSA.
It's called KEMSA for Global Fund.
All right.
Is it Treasuries or is it the Ministry of Health?
That's what where we want to, for purposes of Global Fund.
For purposes of Global Fund.
For purposes of Global Fund.
Yes.
KEMSA is an agent, procurement agent for the National Treasury.
Okay.
Yes.
And why is the National Treasury involved?
Because they are the principal recipient. There are three principal recipients for Global Fund in Kenya. 2 non-state and 1 state. The state principal recipient is the National Treasury.
Okay.
The non-state, you must have heard, the Kenya Red Cross and AMREF.
Yes.
Are the other principal recipients. So
the money does not come to Treasury. All Treasury, to the Ministry of Health.
No.
All Ministry of Health money is nestled in the Treasury.
In the Treasury.
Okay.
And that's why I first started by describing there are program activities, which now the ministry acts as a sub-recipient. Treasury tells you, because I cannot implement malaria things, I cannot implement activities on TB, I cannot. They give the money as a sub-recipient. For procurements, for these anti-malarial things, they are done by Treasury.
Okay.
And that's why Treasury has a unit on Global Fund with technical people, doctors, sitting in Treasury, because they are the principal recipient.
And they understand.
And they need to understand everything that comes from the ministry. So in other words, the ministry gives the Treasury unit technical backup.
Okay. Now, having understood that foundation, and if we bring it to this current conversation of the Global Fund and the procurement of these nets in this particular program for prevention, right? Now, there are some acronyms Wagari, help us. What was it again?
PBO.
PBO.
That was a type of things linked
Thank
to
you very
the
much.
constituent.
And then there was the other one, the word
Pyrethrin.
Yeah.
Pyrethrin.
That's from pyrethrum, so it's easy to say.
Oh, that was
pyrethrin.
exactly. It's
The
easier
other
than
one
the
is
PBO.
pyrenebutane oxide or something.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Now, there was an issue when it came to these nets, according to the Global Fund, right? That there were certain standard requirements that there was an agreement. It was already pre-agreed that in the procurement of these nets, it was going to be the
Can I cut you short?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll cut you short because sometimes we have struggled with that issue of specifications and forgotten the reason why the nets are not being done in Kenya.
Okay, so
Why they're not being
why they're
manufactured.
not
The specifications have nothing.
So are you saying the two are not related? Because the way in which it has come to us is that the two are related, which is what I was trying to
Or
establish.
there's an order.
The reason why this tender was cancelled, or Global Fund said cancel, was because of inconsistencies in the processing of the tender, which is the tender evaluation.
Okay.
Had nothing to do with the specifications.
So why has that come up?
You see, and I'll give you the chronology.
Okay.
So
okay.
I don't know how long I have.
Please go ahead.
The reason why this tender was cancelled, had PBO and no PBO not been there, because once we gave this generic document, which is the policy document, which says if you want to buy nets for Kenya, you can buy, and I think I carried a document which carries all these things. You can buy, there are so many specifications in terms of the fiber. You can buy polyester or polyethylene. In terms of the shape, you can buy rectangular or conical.
There are choices.
In terms of color, you can buy
Blue or green.
light blue, white, or light green. In terms of
There are many
active ingredients.
active ingredient for technology, for more insecticidal technology, you can buy pyrethrin or PBO. So once any funder is given these specifications, they choose what they can buy.
Okay.
In this case, between National Treasury and KEMSA, who are developing the tender document, remember the ministry is not in this.
Yeah.
Between KEMSA and the
National Treasury
and Global Fund, they agreed that we will go
With
for
pyrethrin.
pyrethrin, not PBO. We will go for rectangular and not conical.
Which is okay.
We will
as
go
per the
for
document.
light blue, light blue, and not white or green. So those are now conversations between the procuring agency, which prepares the tender,
Right.
and the National Treasury and the Global Fund.
And this is what happens all the time.
And this is what happens. If you look at the specifications that were sent to, and I have them here, which were sent to National Treasury again in 2020, word for word. Same, word for word. The difference is this one is signed by Dr. Wako, who was the head of malaria program then, and this one is signed by Dr. Omar, who was the head of malaria program. Word for word, because these are policy documents. But now, the same document is given to other, because I always said there are other players or funders who support.
So USAID
are given the same
document.
And like in the last campaign, USAID chose the PBO. Because why? PBO has longer lasting insecticidal effect, and therefore it's in terms of malaria mosquito repellency, it takes longer.
Higher. Okay.
So,
and in the last campaign, Global Fund chose
the same pyrethrin. Yes.
So Global Fund in 2020 chose pyrethrin,
and in
USAID
2022
they chose pyrethrin
so my understanding,
again.
even from reading the thing, if you said it's a issue between the Global Fund, Treasury, and KEMSA. But from what I understand, I think it was someone in the ministry, I forget who it was, then looked at the tender and said, no, it's not correct. We need to change.
That's why we have to go with a chronology.
Yeah. So I'm trying to understand, because you said it's only those three. So where does the ministry of health come in?
This conversation is happening. There is no tender that's being floated. These are technical conversations that are happening, preparing for the tender.
Okay.
Once Global Fund, because the Global Fund reviewed and some of the information, I call it privileged information because I'm in KEMSA. After the Global Fund reviewed the specification, then they settled on this, and the KEMSA developed a tender document, was reviewed by Global Fund, and Global Fund said, okay,
we are okay to go.
We are okay to go.
And the spec here was
the specification now is pyrethrin.
And light blue.
And light blue
and rectangular
and all those things.
Okay.
And these are doctors in Treasury who have decided. So we are clear with technical competence.
Yes,
it's good.
yes.
Okay.
And now, after that, a tender is advertised in the newspapers.
A tender can't be advertised until this agreement is arrived at.
No.
Okay.
It's advertised.
All right.
Specs, everything is put up in the newspapers and in the website. Bidders start applying. No more procurement process. Bidder was it a
pre-qualified
something conference that there is a conference that you call prospective bidders to come
and ask
questions and all those things happen. Then come on the 20th. The tender is supposed to close, I think, on the 23rd of February or thereabout. Maybe 22nd, I cannot remember very well. I do not have the fine details, but around that day, the head of malaria program comes to me and tells me, Daktari, the tender that was advertised does not have a specification that we had put in our initial request. Him, from a technical point, he thought we need to advertise both PBO and pyrethrin, so that whichever is cheaper
carries the day.
Right. So I tell him, Daktari, first, this was my first massnet, so I have not done this before. So I told him, okay, and you are convinced this is okay? He tells me it's okay. Then I tell him, then you have explained to me your issue, go put it in writing, bring it to me, I process it so that I escalate it, or otherwise to the PS. That is, the tender is supposed to close in 2 days. So he never comes back to me. I don't see any communication from him. Then the following day, I think on the 22nd or thereabout, in the newspapers, the tender has been extended to accommodate consultation or to address issues that have been raised by the PS.
I have to say that
these are the same issues that Daktari told me about.
Okay.
The next day.
That was high efficiency, I must say.
Very fast for government. That is very fast for government.
So did you receive the memo that you requested for?
No. In fact, to be honest, I only saw that memo 2 weeks ago.
Can I ask why you asked for it to be put in writing and requested a memo?
Because that's how government works. That we come, we have our discussions, our niceties, you tell me your opinion, you go put it in writing. So that I act on it in writing. Because any other thing, what is not documented doesn't exist.
Okay.
So I asked him to do it in writing, and he did it in writing. And unfortunately, I never saw it. And somehow the PS saw it and acted on it and wrote to KEMSA. And within 2 days, KEMSA had already extended the time.
And what's the procedure? The procedure should pass through you.
Not directly even. He should write to his immediate supervisor, who is the head of department. Then the head of department writes to me.
And that didn't happen?
Didn't happen.
Okay.
So whether it was deliberate, I don't know.
Okay.
Whether it was
a mistake, oversight?
An oversight, I don't know. I don't want to imagine.
Were you in the office that day too?
I was in the office.
So and
even when I'm not in the office, usually there is someone acting in the office.
Okay.
And they have mandate to review documents, sign documents, and
was the memo addressed to you?
The memo was addressed to me.
It's to your attention?
Yes.
To the attention of the Director of Medical Services for Preventive and Promotive Health.
And the memo...
It's copied to?
It was not copied to anyone. It was straight to me.
Only to you?
But you never saw it?
It is here. It's to me through the head of National Strategic Public Health Program from the head of malaria.
The head of malaria program.
That's also very interesting, because in the way government processes, if it reaches a higher officer and the officer sees that the person who it should go through hasn't signed, they will send it back and say this person is.
That's why I said I don't want to imagine, because there are many things that are happening out there, and if it's not in your attention. So
now explain to us before we take the break, or let's take a break. Then you can come and now take us through the extension, and then what happened thereafter.
Okay.
And where ndoa ilivunjika. Dr. Andrew Mulwa is the acting CEO at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority. Prior to this, he was the Director of Medical Services in charge of promotive and preventive care at the Ministry of Health. He's here explaining to us what has happened in this whole kerfuffle with KEMSA and Global Fund, and why he is having to answer so many tough questions before parliamentary investigating committees. Keep it here for more.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.